And good evening. I'm Chuck Nix, the bearded wino. It's another Monday Meditations with Wine. On Monday Meditations with Wine, what we like to do is, for most of us in the hospitality industry, this is the weekend. This is the Saturday for us after a busy weekend, and we're closed on Mondays. So what we do is we like to relax, get a glass of wine, and just kind of meditate on the things that we go through on a regular basis every week. Today, what we're doing is, as usual, highlighting someone in the hospitality, or culinary, or beverage space, a professional who's doing an amazing job and has an interesting take on things. Particularly today, we're talking to Anna Bowlin, who's, if you've ever been to Bravo's, she's probably one of your favorite servers. She's been with us for a little while, and making a great impression with our guests. But there's more to what you just see your servers at the table side. All of us have lives, all of us have backgrounds that vary, and some are not that dissimilar to yours if you are a guest at the table. And I think that it's really important that we highlight some of the things that we're doing, but also the things that we deal with and we go through on a regular basis. She's got a great story, and I think it's important that we talk about these things. So let's get Anna in the room now.
Hello.
Hey, Anna, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am fantastic. It's another Monday. How's the weekend for you?
It was really good. I was in New Orleans yesterday with my family for my niece's first birthday party, so it was really fun.
Oh, fantastic. Well, happy birthday to Nisi, and I'm glad you made it back safely. And now what we're doing is we're getting ready for another week, but we have Monday to decompress. All right, so since you made it back and you were in New Orleans, let's talk about this. How long have you been at Bravo? Because I know for the time that I've been here, in about 7 to 8 months, it feels like you've been here almost just as long as I have. You made a incredible impression on many guests. How long have you been here?
I've been here since March. So I started spring break week, which was March 17th, 18th. So it's been about 4 months.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about your history in hospitality because you came, and I remember when we talked in our first initial conversation. You, I've been in this business 20 years. You identify people who have it, right? There's that thing that they have that makes them good for this industry, and I identified that in you. How long have you been in hospitality?
This it's actually coming up on 5 years right now.
Oh wow. Okay, so that's a good little amount of time in this business. Do you like it? Obviously.
Yes, I do.
Awesome. Awesome. Let me see now. Where did you start in hospitality? Where'd you begin?
I started at a small kind of mom and pop restaurant called Smoky Mountain Grill in Mendenhall, which is my hometown. And I worked there for about 4 years.
What kind of place is Smoky Mountain Grill?
It is a barbecue restaurant, and they make very good barbecue. But it's like a family owned restaurant. I grew up with the lady who owns it, Miss Sheila, and her son, and so um, it was a really good experience for me to have when I was in high school and in the first couple years of college.
All right, so you went from a family-owned barbecue joint, and now you're here in Highland Village at Bravo. Um, why do you like hospitality so much? I mean, you sticking with it. Why do you like it? What about it really is the draw for you?
Yeah, I love just the different people that I get to meet and like interact with. Every single table is different. Every single person is different that I get to talk to, and it's just a really unique experience to be able to meet so many different people in one night, let alone an entire experience of working at a restaurant.
You're a people person though. Like you certainly have a passion for people because in your studies, right? What's your major? What are you studying in school?
I'm a psychology major and I have an English writing minor too.
Oh wow. Okay, great. So you like to talk to people too. You're brilliant. Um, so look, let me talk. Let me ask you this, and we're gonna dig into it more. But so psychology student, hospitality professional, these things kind of cross over, right? There's some things that kind of go together. Uh, how do you think that you're better as a psychology student for being in hospitality, or are you better as a hospitality professional from being a psychology student?
I honestly think, I mean, you said it perfectly. It kind of goes hand in hand with both. Like, I things that I learn in psychology, I can use with my tables, and the things I learn about people, and just like interacting with them, and the way that they work and talk and think helps me in psychology. And so it just all kind of blends together. But as I've learned how much I love people through honestly the hospitality industry, that's where I've really figured out that I like working with people. Um, I have kind of segued into psychology where I can work with people for a living.
Got it. So really, hospitality kind of sparked your drive to do psychology. That's right, because you were working in restaurants in high school before you got to college to decide that's what you wanted to do. It's fantastic, awesome. So look, let's start with this. You're at Bravo. What's your favorite wine on the wine list?
I honestly love our Riesling. I think it is very good. I also love our new red that we just added to the wine list. I think that one's really good too.
Are you talking about the Barbera?
Hmm.
Absolutely. And for those checking in just now, this is Monday Meditations with Juan. We're talking to Anna Bowlin, a server here at Bravo. And she just let us know that she likes the new Barbera that's on the wine list. So if you're stopping in, be sure to check the server, check the list for a glass of Barbera. It's called CP Barbera. It's an Italian red from northern Italy. It's got a considerable extraction. What would you say? What else do you like about this wine?
It's very, it's not as strong. Like it's really smooth. So it's not quite that like punch of alcohol that sometimes you get with wines, but it's just very like smooth and like very fruit forward. It's very good.
Agreed. And it's easily pairable with a lot of different foods. So I dig on some Barbera. Let me ask you this. There are some challenging aspects to any job or any occupation. What are some of the more challenging things for you in hospitality?
Yeah, I it's just such a fast-paced environment. And so, especially if you love working with people, it's great, but it's also sometimes a lot of people at one time, a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
Um, and it's also it's kind of hard to read people sometimes because you want to make sure that your guests are getting what they need, and a lot of times that can go south, which is whenever you see people getting frustrated or upset because of long wait times or because things aren't coming out the way they want. And so sometimes it can be hard to read people and deal with problems that come up, and part of that can come
Wait
down.
a minute. Anna, you're a psychology student. It's your job to read people. You're really good at reading people. You have to read people very well. So just now, I mean, you would, and that's like this is just my brain thinking. This is what other people think. You're a psychology student. Why can't you read people very well?
So sometimes it is more difficult than others. I think a lot of times when people hear, like, I say I'm a psychology major, they're like, oh, you're going to read my mind. That's not necessarily the case. A lot of
What am I
times,
thinking? What am I thinking right now?
see, and that's the thing. I don't know. You're probably thinking about wine, and psychology, but that's
You're a
just,
really good student. You're really good at this.
but it's a lot of times it's not just reading like what people are saying. It's trying to understand with their body language and with their facial expression. And sometimes people are not as clear as you would think that they would be.
Yeah.
And so it can, like, issues can come up because you're just not communicating well. And so that sometimes can be the issue with communication, I think.
Yeah, I think those issues with communication are kind of common throughout, many professionals. I think that you have a unique take on things because me and you talk about other challenges that you have personally in hospitality. What are some of those challenges? Like, what are things that are different for you than anyone else?
Yeah. So I personally struggle with anxiety, and so sometimes that can impact my service or the way that I work. Um, but I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder in April, actually, and so sometimes that can affect too with like the fast paced environment and like dealing with people.
Now, you say generalized anxiety.
Hmm.
All right. Now, what is generalized anxiety? What is comparative? Like, what's a different kind or type of anxiety that we would think of or wouldn't think of?
Yeah. So generalized anxiety disorder is more of a lot of times it's what people think of when they think of anxiety. It's more of it's different for every person, but a lot of times it's situational. So for me, a lot of times it's situational with like if I'm in a really stressful environment or if I'm in a like an area where I really like need to do well in something,
Mm.
it can cause a higher stress reaction than it would in a normal person. So, like for you, maybe a super busy night, you you've done this for so long, you just handle it and it's fine. For me, sometimes it becomes overwhelming and it leads to like anxiety symptoms.
Um, so for you, it's situational, and it happens in high stress situations. Well, that's essentially every Friday or Saturday night that you're working, right? That's
Right.
any busy shift that you come across these stressful situations. How does that play out? What is a stressful situation? How does that come to fruition? How does that reaction happen? What is
Yeah.
that reaction?
So I can actually speak to this recently. So Saturday night, we were very busy. I think I had um, maybe a six top, a four top, a two top, and like a five top go down pretty much within 30 minutes of each other. So it's all happening at once. Um, and so, like, for me, just having so many things that I'm thinking, like, I need to be doing all 17 of these things, and I need to, like, make sure that this table is good and that they're, like, happy because you want to make the dining experience the same and good for all guests. Um, and so there was a point in the middle of that where I just had to stop and breathe for a second because it was a little bit too much in that moment and then continue with what I was doing.
Now, that's a challenging thing to do as a server because we know no one is understanding to the stop. It's
Yeah.
always go go go. Um, you're still obviously very successful here. When you have these challenges like this, you know, is there a reflection point? Do you look back at the night like you ever have a night you look back as like this is just awful? I can't manage this. I can't handle this. Has that ever happened? Does that ever happen?
Um, I think pretty much by the end of kind of one of those really like a pop that we call it, one of those really like fast
Yeah.
paced periods, I'll get to the end of it and I'll be like, okay, it's okay. Because most of the time I think that if I like couldn't handle it, I probably wouldn't be in this. This wouldn't be the place for me,
Yeah.
um, because that would happen most, like you said, most Friday Saturday nights. Um, that would be I would get to the end of it if that were the case, and I would be like, I don't know if I can handle this. But most of the time, whenever it calms down, and I've learned like coping mechanisms with it, it
Mm.
is better, and it doesn't get to that point.
Now, coping mechanisms through the anxiety. What does that look like? Is it wouldn't that just to stop and take a minute? Would that be the coping mechanism?
It's part of it. So for me, like Saturday night, for example, um, I took like 30 seconds and I went to the back and did a breathing. It's called like square breathing, but it's a
Okay.
breathing exercise that I learned in my own personal therapy. Um, where you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, and you hold at the bottom for 4 seconds, and it resets your brain. So a lot of times with it's a really fast paced environment, your fight or flight is kicking in. It's
Wow.
that kind of panic reaction, and so when you do that square breathing, when I do that square breathing, it brings oxygen into my brain, and it helps me think more clearly, so I can do what I need to do without that like inhibiting me.
And you and I have conversations. We talked a little bit about this, and it was incredibly eye opening to me because when you think of anxiety, most people do. I think when I think of anxiety, I think of like panic attacks and freakouts, and I can't handle this, and I'm like pulling my hair out. That's what I think of. Being super anxious, right, in a situation that gets tough. It never comes across that way. I've never seen a noticeable reaction. Like we had to have the conversation about it to even know it. Um, how is that? What is it that we're thinking of if I'm thinking about people, being a little manic? What is that like? I mean, this is a different kind of anxiety that we're talking about, right?
So I think so. There's a difference between like low functioning and high functioning anxiety.
Okay.
So for
So there's a
me,
spectrum. to all this?
There's a spectrum, yes.
Okay.
So, and it's really important to recognize and like validate both sides of the spectrum, because even if you're like if you're high functioning, which means that you can function really well with it, it's you still have symptoms of anxiety. And if you're low functioning, like it's really important to validate that that is just as important, even if you are like having panic attacks and it makes it hard to work. I
Mm.
think just a big part in all of this is like learning how to cope with it yourself and where you're at on that spectrum. Um, and so, like for me, I've learned how to handle it pretty effectively, and especially over the past year, I've learned really good ways to cope with it. And so I'm more high functioning, even if so that's why most of the time you can't see it, but I cope with it in my own way. Um, and if you see someone who's more of that traditional, I guess, like with panic attacks, and it's um, more of an outward expression,
Hmm.
it may mean that they're a little bit more low functioning, and they may need more coping mechanisms, or may need a little bit more help.
Mm. Speaking of help, you said you were diagnosed in April with generalized anxiety. You obviously saw that there was a need to go get help. How did you know that you needed to go get help with this?
Yeah, so I started personal therapy in November of last year, which was a very helpful thing for me. It's been very helpful in my life. I recommend it to everyone. But in that therapy, I was becoming more self aware. I started understanding myself more and realizing the effect that anxiety was having on my life, and noticing it more. So before, I wasn't noticing it because I didn't really know what it looked like for me. I just thought it was normal.
Hmm.
But then I started paying attention to like my body and to how I was feeling and how different situations affected me, and I started talking about that more in therapy. And we came to the understanding that it was getting to be too much for me, just in functioning in general without some kind of outside help. And so that was when I started a medication, and I started to learn some of those coping mechanisms, and that has made all the difference for me.
Um, what, you said you noticed some things that were different in your body. Like, what is that? Like, you were. I mean, does it mean that you were? And this is back in November, so you were in hospitality. Does this mean that you were on the dining room floor, and you got like chills, and you couldn't knew like something's wrong? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. So I like, for example, a lot of times for me it's breathing. So it's
Okay.
hard for me to breathe.
Okay.
So if I'm in more of a high stress, like high anxiety situation, it will be the panic response for me a lot of times is a difficulty breathing. So my chest feels tight. I'm like breathing more like quickly but like shallow. And it can also be kind of like a nausea feeling. So it's
Hmm.
more of like it's like a sick feeling,
Yeah.
where you can't really, it's like that, not guilt in the pit of your stomach, but it's like, whenever you like maybe do something wrong or something is going wrong and you have that kind of like gnawing feeling in your stomach that's like kind of
Wow.
sick. It's
Wow.
like that. Um, and so like whenever I started realizing it was an issue, I was noticing that I was feeling those things all the time. And I just thought that that was kind of normal. Or
Mm.
even like little things would make it hard to breathe, or I would just feel you can't put a like pinpoint on what's wrong, but you know that something is wrong because you have that feeling that's like
Yeah.
something's wrong constantly.
Yeah. 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 I get
That's
now. It
yeah,
makes more sense now. Sort of a gut feeling. That's got to be incredibly challenging because while you're trying to normalize an anxiety reaction,
yeah.
at the same time you still don't feel right while you're trying to make it normal inside you. Yeah, I think that would lead me to go see somebody too. Like this doesn't feel right. Oh man. Now you mean you take mechanism? I mean you take medication. You use coping mechanisms. Let's say none of that happened. Let's just say you never saw anybody. You just kept dealing with it, right? Let's just say you were like, I don't have the means to go see someone, right? Let's say I'm just gonna keep hustling through it. This is what it is. I'm normalizing it. How do you think that would play out for you today, if from then to now?
um I would probably be very different than I am now. So I recognize that when I was younger and like in high school and stuff,
Yeah.
I would a lot of times not deal with emotions, so I would just shove them down. So that
Mhm.
anxiety feeling, most of the time I didn't really notice because it was both normal and I just didn't recognize it as being real. Um, and a lot of times it is easier to just not feel things and not like think about things and work through them. Just in general as a person, because
Yeah.
life is hard sometimes and it's just as easier not to deal with it. Um, and so I would probably still be in that kind of state where I don't really feel anything. I don't, nothing's really wrong.
Yeah.
Instead of actually like listening to myself and trying to grow as a person.
I know you said that you went and saw somebody, back in November, or you started realizing. How long do you think you've actually dealt with anxiety?
It's hard to say. I started noticing it more probably within the past couple of years. Um, but I think I've dealt with it honestly since high school,
Hmm.
um,
Wow.
if not earlier. I remember being really young and having so there are different, not spin-offs, that's not a good word, but it's different like reactions that are caused by anxiety sometimes. So you have like OCD and anxiety. So OCD is like obsessive compulsive disorder, and then anxiety, and sometimes some of those like disorders can kind of mesh a little bit.
Hmm.
So you have, I know you've probably heard of like the like hair pulling disorder and like skin picking disorder,
Yeah.
those kind of things.
Yeah.
And so for me, a lot of times my anxiety, it presents itself in skin picking. And so I'll like bite my nails or pick at my face or any like little spot that I have. I'll mess with it. And that has been happening since I was very young. Like I remembered that before I was like 10. And so that kind of reaction has, it gets worse with anxiety. And it's diagnosed as like an OCD disorder, but it can be made worse by anxiety. And so that's kind of my pinpoint of like I remember that when I was really young and even now continuing to today.
This is this is eye opening, and to think that you do all this, right, because you said it's situational, and your job is essentially a high stress position that would have a lot of those situations to trigger your anxiety, but you do it and you do it well. It's amazing. I think it's a credit to you and your abilities. It's a credit to you and your strength and your resilience that you're able to manage it and maintain and navigate it this way, because no one would ever know. And it's, if it's attributed to the coping mechanisms, to the medication, I think a lot of it really is attributed to just you in general, because I mean your mind is with it and you have a determination to not let this thing beat you, right? To not let it, get the best of you in the situations, right? So I think that that's a credit to you, and it's really eye opening, and it makes me really happy to work with you. It also makes me really happy to know that I'm in company with somebody who has a dedication to the cause of providing great hospitality to people despite other challenges. That is where the credit lies. So there's the hat off to you, Anna. Let me ask you this, because we're in a restaurant, I mean, and it's super high stress. Um, do you ever think that, you know what, maybe there's something that would be better for me to do that's not as stressful, considering?
Like a different job, you think?
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe just a different aspect of hospitality.
Um, Sometimes I think I well so there's so sometimes I'll pick up like host shifts at Bravo. So being it's not even like just um like being in hospitality. It's like serving specifically a lot of times is really high stress, and there are a lot of jobs in a restaurant. So there's the kitchen, there's the
Yeah.
host, there's the servers, there's the bussers.
I mean, they're
Um,
all high stress though.
they're all high stress,
They're
yes,
all high stress.
right. For me, serving is um like so hosting to me is kind of a breath of fresh air because it's less stressful to me than hosting or than serving. And so a lot of times I really enjoy hosting
Mm,
because it's just kind of I can just like greet people and it's less of the like personal like I have to be with you for an hour and we're going to like I'm going to be with you every step of the way because that it serving is really like in depth and detailed and
yeah.
there's so many different aspects that you have to consider and control. Um, and so hosting is one of those. I can't really think of another one. I really do enjoy like hospitality and working with people. And restaurants are a really unique way because you get so many different types of people
Yeah.
and like diverse groups.
And I was thinking like, I mean, hospitality really has a wide spectrum. You think like, would you think maybe hotels is better for you? Like maybe working on another side of it. Not that I want you anywhere except for at Bravo. I don't want you here. But and I think about like for you, if there's ever a chance, like, do you ever think like, you know what, maybe there's something better, or is it just like, you know what, this is what I want to do, this is what I love doing, this is how I connect with people, and this is it for you?
So I love so as a part-time job for me,
Yeah,
while I'm in school, I wouldn't
sure.
want to do anything else.
Right.
I honestly there's a part of me that loves the fast pace because I love being busy. I love
Yeah.
having a lot to do, which sometimes kind of doesn't go well with the other parts. But like, I love like a ton of people and getting to talk to a bunch of people, and it's just it's fun to me. I've been doing it for a while. I'm used to
Yeah.
it. But in the future, right now, I'm working towards getting my LPC license, so I can be a practicing counselor, a mental health therapist.
Okay.
And so that I think is that's my end goal,
Yeah.
um, which is definitely going to be I think it'll be more mentally challenging, but it'll be less stressful overall
Mm.
than the hospitality industry.
Well, we'll see. I know you're pretty resilient, and you got the right mechanisms. There's nothing that you can't accomplish. So we're excited to see where you're going in the future. And we're excited to see how that plays out. Um, Thank you for talking with us about this because I think that it's important that people understand. Like I said before, there's more than meets the eye when it comes to your service professionals. You know, yes, you are a psychology student, you're a server, but you also deal with anxiety. And, any moment you may have to go and practice some breathing just to get through the next part of the guest experience. You having to deal with those things on the back end, on the outside, shows a commitment to their experience to hospitality. That's where I think that we really offer credit to you for that. All right. So look, I got some fun things I want to ask you. Um, and I know that you are becoming more and more of a wine enthusiast because you work around me, and I'll accept nothing less. All right. So let me ask you this: if you could share a bottle with any one person, dead or alive, who would that person be?
Okay, I've been thinking about this question because you asked me this the other day.
Yeah.
Um, and I have been racking my brain. Um, which honestly, I know. Oh, because you're looking for like a celebrity, but
No, it can be anybody. Who do you want to drink with?
I honestly so probably like my sister, which I do sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, but that would probably be like a bucket list thing, but also just like my family. Like I think that that would just like a bottle of wine with my family would be
Which
great.
family member do you think that you'd much rather that you really want to drink with?
My brother probably,
Your
my
brother?
older brother. Yeah,
Okay. All right. What does your older brother drink? What does he drink?
he's been there a couple times. He I'm trying to think. He's not really a wine person.
We'll
Um,
have to fix that.
you would have to fix it. Honestly, don't really know. I think he has like a couple of things. I think he said something about maybe bourbon or scotch,
Okay.
like that kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. All right. We got some good whiskeys here too.
we
Yeah,
do,
that's what
yes.
we'll do. All right. I will get your brother in here. We'll bring that to fruition here. All right, look, I know you're learning more about all these different styles of wine and grape varieties. Which grape variety or style of wine best describes you?
Um, so I know I said it earlier, but I honestly do think that a Riesling would,
Okay.
because, and I know a lot about other types too, but a Riesling is, it can be kind of dry,
Uh
but it
huh.
is also like kind of sparkly and kind of
Okay.
sweet. I feel like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that would
Yeah,
be one.
it absolutely can be. Right on. I can dig it. I can dig it 100%. Good German Riesling. All right. All right. Do you have a unicorn bottle, zero bottle of wine that you have to have before you die, or what's your death row bottle of wine?
Okay, that South African blend that you showed me that one time
Yeah.
is absolutely fantastic. I love that
Yeah.
one.
I think that was a David and Nadia wine, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
Yeah, they do really, really good wines, and that's a great bottle to one on, no doubt about that. All right, look, if you got $20, what bottle of wine you going to get?
Honestly, I'm going to get a Moscato,
Okay,
probably a peach, or I actually tried a cherry one that was really good.
okay, so like a fruit wine or like a flavored wine?
Um, More of like a fruit wine, I think.
I got it. I got it.
Um, yeah,
Fruit wines are showing up really big in the market these days. There's a lot of companies that are putting out fruit wines, so there's going to be a resurgence or an insurgence of these wines into market, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to play out. For so long we've been all about vinifera grapes, but
yeah.
now we're really starting to see other fruits being fermented in bottles into a respectable space. So it's interesting to see how that plays out, and I'm sure you would be a strong proponent for it. All right, I think we know the answer to this. If you're not in the hospitality industry today, what would you be doing?
I would be counseling,
Yeah,
honestly. I just
yep,
love talking to people and like getting to know people and hearing their stories, and hospitality is a great way to do that, but also this is a more concentrated way that I can help and make a difference.
yep. That's great. That's great. Anna, thank you so much for talking with us. I appreciate you for being open and letting people know that there's more than meets the eye with you. I appreciate you. And I can't wait till we work together again. It's sometime soon this week, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
All right. Hey, enjoy the rest of your day, Anna. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Peace.